Alright, so today we are going to focus on example 2. So in my previous video I showed you how to solve a one-step inequality. It was less than or equal to, and we worked through it. And the steps really are very similar between solving this type of inequality and then the one you just saw in the other video. The main difference here is in noticing that the coefficient of my variable, in this case, is negative instead of being positive, and that plays a key role in how we solve these types of inequalities. So my first step is going to stay the same. I'm going to create a t-chart. So I'm going to take it in a different color. We'll use blue again, and I'm going to create a dashed line that goes down my inequality symbol as a placeholder. Then I'm going to perform step 2, and step 2 is identify the operation being performed to the variable. And so what I can say here is that when I look at my variable, or my z in this case, I want to see what operation is being performed to that. So I can do the opposite operation to solve. So I notice that there's multiplication done between my -3 here and my z. So that means since there's multiplication being done, I need to divide both sides by -3. And so I do once I divide the left side by -3, I also need to divide the right side by -3. And so I'm actually going to write this division as a fraction. So this is just saying -3z divided by -3, and on the right side it's -4.5 divided by -3. Okay. Then I have to notice something really important here. And I'm actually going to do this in red since my last step was in red. I'm going to say here, this is extremely important. I'm going to quadruple star this thing because this is how important this step is. So this step right here, the real main goal is you need to make sure that when you're doing or performing the second step, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you need to flip your inequality symbol. So if you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you need to flip your inequality symbol. So then I go back up here and I say, okay, I'm dividing by a negative. So right away, I'm going to flip this symbol. So instead of being greater than, it's going to flip to the opposite of that. So the opposite of greater than is less than. And then -3z divided by -3 is just plain old z. And then -4.5 divided by -3. Well, in order to solve that, we're going to have to do some long division here. So I've never done long division with this tablet before, so let's see how it goes. Oh, definitely not so good the first go around, so let's try it again. Awesome. So then I say to myself, okay, I have 3 over here, 4.5 on the inside. Since this is a whole number on the outside, I know that this decimal can be brought straight to the top. And then I can say to myself, okay, 3 can go into 4 once. And then I minus 3 here. This gets me 1.5. 3 can go into 1.5. Well, it can't. And actually, I don't want this to be 1.5. I want this to be just 15. So then I say to myself, okay, 3 can go into 15 5 times. So then we know that 4.5 or 3 can go into 4.5 1.5 times. So what that tells us is that z has to be less than 1.5. And it's positive 1.5 because a negative divided by a negative is a positive number. Then, in my final step, which is going to be step 4 here, I need to graph. So, I'm going to erase my long division that I did earlier in order to make room for my graph. So, here we go. 1.5 goes in the middle. And since this number is a decimal, I'm going to use decimals for the rest of my numbers. So we'll say 2, 2.5. And then it's really important that you're making sure that you're counting by a constant interval every time. 1 and 0.5. So notice how I'm counting by I'm counting by 0.5s here every time, and that's really important. You want to make sure you're counting by a consistent number. It's an open circle because it's a less than symbol. And then you should substitute in a value to make sure you know what side to shade. So I'm going to substitute in 2. So 2 is less than 1.5. That is false, which means I need to shade in all the numbers on the left side, because all those numbers are going to make the inequality true. So that's really important. Third step here in this one, just to recap, is that whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you need to make sure you flip your inequality symbol. So this isn't one that you could tell right from the beginning because the coefficient of the variable is negative, that you're going to have to flip that symbol. But I caution you to not just assume, because once you start using the distributive property, things get very tricky. So it's really important to wait until the step where you're dividing or multiplying by the negative before you go and actually flip the inequality symbol. So thank you guys. I'll see you in class on Wednesday.